let us go to a game that 2 years ago, created a great Applebee's commercial for a certain Kansas walk-on. But I feel like we're in a very different place with both programs, with Kansas and with Texas. Steve Sarkisian said this week that he didn't feel like they needed to remind the Texas players about what happened 2 years ago because they're so different than what they were then. And I got to tell you, Ralph, I was more impressed with what Texas did against Baylor than I was what Texas did against Alabama.
Yeah, I know where you're going on that. And I have a similar feeling on this game too, right? Because we're expecting Texas. Yeah, we know you show up in the big games, but let's take care of business in the not so big games, in the road game. That's why I'm interested to see what they do here. Kansas is good, but you got Oklahoma next week. You just beat. You're still feeling good about Alabama. I like Texas, and I think I'm giving up them points. And this is the thing. Like, I think Kansas is better this year than they were last year.
Oh, I think the one of the things that's good for Texas and bad for Kansas is when Texas players turned on the tape this week, they're like, you know what? Kansas is pretty good. Yeah. Like, we got to respect these people.
Yeah. I thought Kansas's 5-0 start last year was a little bit more fortunate. I think this 4-0 is a little more legit. Like, yes. I think this Kansas team, no matter what happens this week, is going to have a better back half of the season than it did last year. That said, I want to see it. I do want to see Texas do this.
Well, they did this last year against Kansas and Kansas State. It was actually
that's true.
That part of the season is where I feel like it maybe turned for Texas.
That's a good point.
And now I will say I went and revisited that Texas-Kansas game from last year. It was Bijan Robinson going berserk.
Right.
It was them basically not being able to stop the run at all.
Right.
Now, BYU's not very good this year, but they held BYU to 29 rushing yards last week.
Right.
Like, Kansas can play this year. And another plug, Lance Leipold, Kansas coach, going to be on the show tomorrow.
Good get.
So he's a really interesting guy. People forget that before he was at Buffalo, he was at Wisconsin Whitewater, won 6 D3 national titles. Like, he was the Nick Saban of D3. Like, they weren't supposed to just win every game. They were supposed to win every game, going away. And so he's lived a lot of different football lives, and it's got Kansas really salty right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a side note, but it makes me think that when you look at what he's done and what Kalen DeBoer has done, that maybe winning is a good sign, and you should hire guys that win.
Guys who win tend to keep winning.
Yeah, like if you win at levels of football, no matter where you are, that's a good sign that you're going to continue winning. I like Kansas's defense better this year than last year, just as you said. They look a lot more improved, but I don't know. Like, I'm starting to buy in on this Texas team a little more. I think at home, after what I saw out of Baylor last week, or taking care of business against Baylor, I think they're going to take care of business this week. I'm going to give up that 16.5. And, I don't think they're going to necessarily beat them 55-3, but I think it's enough to cover the spread.
I believe in Texas too, yet I am still going to take Kansas to cover. I think Texas will win and Kansas will cover. I just think Kansas is good this year. Like, and I think that they will give Texas a good game, because the thing that Texas did to them last year, I'm not sure, like, they don't have a Bijan Robinson this year to do that with. Now, maybe they just throw it to Jatavian Sanders and he does it to them. But I do think that Kansas has a chance to make this one at least semi-competitive. Again, Texas can win by 2 touchdowns and I still win. So this is a lot of points, but I'm really excited to see this game. And again, if Texas can cover this spread, I'm going to be even more in on them, because they do feel like they're made differently than what we've seen from Texas in the last few years.
And my last note on this, until further notice, Jalon Daniels is the best quarterback in the Big 12.
Ooh. That's not a hot take, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hot take, but I think a lot of people listen. I know NFL scouts and things along those lines, projecting Ewers, and I know what Dylan Gabriel has done, but I am all in on Jalon Daniels. So again, I'm giving a ton of compliments to Kansas, but I'm also not taking them.
Well, it's also because we both think Texas is really good this year.
Yeah.
And they are playing differently and acting differently than Texas has played and acted in the past. So
We'll see.
I understand where you're coming from, but I'm still taking the Jayhawks if you're going to give me all of those points. Let us
We've
go
been on
to
the opposite side of a lot of games, by the way. Have you
I
noticed?
know maybe one of us is going to be perfect again.
Oh boy.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.